So the goal with these is to build total body strength. They're all multi-joint movements, so we're using a lot of muscle mass and a lot of core stabilization as well. That's that functional part that's going to transfer to other things in our life that we want to continue to train and preach here in our studios. Our squat is one of our basic and key foundational lifts. One of the first things you want to do with your squat is keep your chest up loud and proud, brace your core, abs real tight, act like somebody's going to punch you in the stomach. Bend at the hips and knees at the same time, and trying to get your knees to be parallel with your hips. That's how we descend, right? As we ascend from the squat, we want to really make sure we're driving through our midfoot. We see a lot of toe rocking in the studio, which means they're either onto their toes or they're rocking sitting way too far back into their heels and their toe lift. You want to think the whole foot should stay nice and flat on the floor, spread their feet out. Almost try to bust through the side seams of their shoes to keep their feet nice and stable as they get into their squat. Everybody's squat looks different, right? But we want to get them to the best version that they can do, ultimately have them looking like they do on the TV screens. Have people start really light and focus on form. I had a member who pretty much didn't use weights for a month for any resistance day because she really wanted to master her form, and she's loading it up now and it looks beautiful. Like she's got a perfect lunge, a perfect squat, because all she did was dedicate time to getting her form and her technique right. And it's a really beautiful thing to see because she's lifting heavier and heavier and making a lot of progress. It's important to not jump the gun right away. We want to warm up properly. Start with that moderate weight and slowly increase that weight set over set and time over time. They're going to be able to get better squats that are going to be more consistent rather than starting with those 50s right away. Some big things I want you guys to look out for, and what I like to call is your coach's eye. You'll see this all the time, especially with our beginners and people who haven't done some of these movements before. So the knees caving in and the round back. The round back is going to look like shoulder blades rounding forward. They're leaning forward a little bit. This means they're not having any core stability going on as they're doing their squats. So we really want to make sure they're bracing the core, keeping their shoulders back and down, and trying to keep their body centered over their midline. So instead of shooting their knees forward, having to round back, they're really sitting backwards, keeping their whole body over their midfoot. Another big thing you'll see is the knees caving in. So as they squat down, the knees will start caving in right away. This is a good sign that they're having weakness in their abductors and adductors. Good cue is standing right next to them, right on the side of them. Push your hand right next to where their knees should be as they squat down. Say, hey, drive your knees out to my hand. Give them that good little tactile cue. Once they get there, be like, good, all right, your hips parallel with the knees up. That's going to help them recruit those abductors, those adductors, their glutes, get all their muscles in their lower body really working and help them perform the squat to excellent proficiency. The bench press, my favorite, every gym bro's favorite. We love our bench presses. And this is some good ways maybe to get to your more intimidating members who like to lift heavy and really give them some good technical cues so they can perform properly and actually see their bench grow. Our setup is very simple. We're going to be flat on the bench. We want those feet pressed into the floor. I see it in my studio a lot where people's feet are up on the bench. That's something we really don't want to do. They're not going to have any core stability or really good control. Or if their feet are up on the bench, the weight's not heavy enough. The weight should be heavy enough where you need to have some stability through your feet. And your feet are also going to be a huge driver for your bench press. I always get a huge quad burn and almost a hip cramp because I'm pushing through my legs so hard when I bench. That force will transfer through your body right into your arms as you bench. We're going to come down towards our chest. It's a chest exercise, right? I hate seeing those dumbbells come down towards the eyes. It's not an eye exercise. It's got to come down towards the chest. As we come down towards the chest, we're searching for that stretch in our shoulders and chest, right? Not so much where, thank you, Christina, for laughing at my dad jokes. Not so much where we're going to feel like our shoulder blade is going to pop out the socket, but just so much where we can feel a good stretch or where our muscles are in that most lengthened position. That's where we want it, right? And then from there, we're coming up like a C shape. I say it's a C shape because it's not a straight up and straight down kind of movement, right? We're not staying in our horizontal flexion and extension. We're going to make a little bit of a C shape. So as we drive down towards our chest, getting our shoulders and chest in that most stretched position, we're going to drive back up towards our eye. That's going to allow you to recruit all of your shoulder muscles, all of your chest muscles, your upper and lower, to get max energy and max power through that lift. We have some great variations here as well that will help you with that. That neutral grip, right, palms facing in. We're going to feel this one a little bit more in our triceps and also our incline bench press. We're going to feel this a little bit more in our upper chest. The cues stay the same, though. We still want to drive it down towards our chest and then press back up towards our eyes. And that's how we're going to finish the lift. Once again, this is a great movement to start off a little bit light with, maybe work a little bit of tempo, have that chest really warm up before you start adding that load, making it a little bit heavier. Warm up properly, progress gradually. Don't take a 10-pound jump, take a 5-pound jump. Master that technique and that form so it feels the same on both sides, especially when we're using our dumbbells. Go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, something you just said, Mitch, made me think of, I was coaching this morning and I had two guys next to each other who were, one of them had the 55s and one of them had the 60s. And the one who had the 55s really wanted the 60s. And he was like, it's just not my regular weight. I really want to get to the 60s. I said, you know what? We don't need it. I want you to go really slow on the way down. And then his range of motion could have been a little bit deeper. So I said, when you think you've hit the bottom of your range of motion, I want you to go a half inch lower and then go quick on the way up. So we have the tempo down. We go down a half inch lower than you think you can, and then quick push. And so there are so many ways. We talk so much about oscillation, about the pauses, the pulses, the time under tension. After that set, he was like, oh my God, I don't even want to touch the 60s for a while. I want to really focus on that. That felt really good. That's where the change starts to happen. So the heavyweights are not always better.
They're not always better. And I love that. And that's a great way to, once again, coach and engage with your members, right? I had 3 strong guys. They all went for the incline bench press today. They all wanted the same weights. One of them was stuck with 33s. And I was like, I got you, dude. No problem. We did tempo the entire time. I was having him just press up to my hands, just using a little tactile cue, giving him a different range of motion to try to hit every time while trying to maintain that tension. He wanted to go down to 28s after that set. So that's exactly what I wanted him to feel, that he didn't need to load up the weight very heavily to get a good engagement and get a good stimulus going on throughout his chest. Some things we definitely want to avoid is those elbows flaring out. That square, boxy look kind of bench press, this is going to cause a lot of issues with the shoulders, right? When we have that 45-degree, we can engage our traps and our back, squeeze those back muscles together. That's going to stabilize the shoulder a lot better, especially when we have heavier weights. Another big thing we want to avoid is that bouncing. So that's that rapid boom. I'm going to go to my chest and then I'm going to throw it right back up, right? This will cause big shoulder issues as well because there's no control. Remember, true strength is controlling the weight from start to finish. So we want to see that nice controlled movement, that 1 or 2 count down and that big explosion back up with control from start to finish. The bouncing off the chest, off the sides, is just going to put your shoulder at that compromised position for a injury to happen. Once again, overloading too soon is to your detriment, right? We don't want to see that happen too quickly. There's no way to progress that lift, or you're not going to see them finish a set by the time they get to their 3rd or 4th set if they're starting off way too heavy. So encourage them to start a little bit lighter, build it up, and then preach that hard working set of that last one. I guarantee they'll enjoy it. The deadlift, this is my favorite. This is my bread and butter. Might probably talk for the next 30 minutes about this one. So Anna, feel free to cut me off. The deadlift, they call it the health lift. It is the absolute best lift for your body, okay? This one does take a little bit of technique and can be very hard to master if you don't have a good awareness of your hips or your core. There's so many little intricate things in this lift. And with those major athletes who are familiar with this lift, we can start drilling in a lot of those little things to make it extremely proficient. So the deadlift, we're standing feet shoulder width apart. You want that bar to start right over their midfoot. So think your shoelaces. The back should be flat. So as members sit down and grab that bar, tell them to pop their chest out a little bit, almost with their spine in extension. That's going to create a nice neutral spine. Their chest is up, their lats are engaged. So how you engage the lats is act like you're going to squeeze a tennis ball underneath your armpit. Squeezing that tennis ball, that dollar bill underneath your armpit, that's going to help you engage your lats. Remember, this exercise is mainly a posterior chain exercise. So it's working everything in your back. So the more of your back that you engage, the better this lift is going to be. We want to drive up through our heels, extending those hips and knees at the same time together, ending with your shoulders right over your hips. See a lot of overextension when it comes to our deadlifts. Starting off nice and low, then we send them at the top. Then we're leaning way back and finishing here, squeezing those glutes super tight. That's fantastic, but it's way too much. As we get into our deadlift, we want to keep the bar extremely close to our legs. If you got leggings on, ladies, use them. Drag that bar right up your legs, squeezing those quads and glutes at the top, ending with those shoulders right over your hips. That is your end position. There's no need to go any further than that. This is a lift that is so helpful, but can be so technical. So before loading it up heavy, definitely want to master that good form and technique and make sure your reps look the same from rep to rep. What you want to see is consistency. Consistency will allow you to add load later. The bar traveling away from you is where we'll see core lat engagement. The shoulder blades are round, the bar is way out here, and I'm coming up and down, have some good knee bend, my core is engaged, but the bar is way away from me. This is going to also cause back pain. When your members are feeling back pain, this is usually why, because that bar is just way too far away from them, where they can't engage their core, they can't engage their lats enough to perform the lift. So have them literally press the bar right against their legs, drag it all the way up their legs, drag it all the way down. That's going to prevent that back pain. Instead of being here, their hips sucked out, boom, tuck their hips in, squeeze their glutes from the start. As they descend into their deadlift, they're searching for that stretch in their hamstrings and glutes. They should still have good core pressure there. If they're okay with it, always check for consent. Give them a little poke on the belly, make sure the core is on and is nice and engaged, right? Really avoid that rounding back and that back pull. If that bar is away from them, they're going to be more tempted to round their back as they get into that deadlift. This is once again going to cause a lot of back pain. It could even cause a nice pull in their QL or their spinal erectors. So telling them to squeeze that tennis ball between their armpits is going to help create that nice neutral spine for that lift. And then that's going to help the rounding of the back. Pulling with your back is going to look very weird. It almost looks like an RDL. When we're doing a deadlift, especially when it's heavy, we don't want to lift with our back. We're lifting with our legs. We're using our quads, our hamstrings, our glutes. That is what is performing the lift. Our upper body is providing stability. So we're engaging our core. We're engaging our lats. We're set. Last thing we want to do is just boom, just try to drive up just with our back. This is going to cause a lot of back pain. We want to extend your hips forward and squeeze those quads up at the top. So we're pushing our butt back, and then we're driving our hips forward. That allows you to use, once again, all the muscle mass and within your lower body and perform the lift properly. All right, our last one here is going to be our pull-up, right? Pull-ups are a very hard exercise to master. They say like 1% of the population can really do them, and it's pretty much true. It's a very hard lift. Lifting up your entire body weight against gravity is extremely hard, but there's lots of ways to start. Well, let's talk about the execution of the pull-up first. So we're grabbing the bar just a little bit wider than our shoulder width apart. And I always like to tell members to try to break the bar rather than try to pull yourself up. So we really want to pull the bar down as much as we can, driving those elbows right into the ribs. We want great core engagement here as well, because that's going to help the stop of the swinging. We see that swinging, almost kicking trainers in the head as we're helping them in and out the bands. Get them to hold their feet just a little bit forward, pointing those toes a little bit, almost like a hollow body position. That engagement of the core is going to help them perform this lift because it's going to stop that swinging. It's going to help them find some stability there so they can really pull, engage those lats, and get that pull up down. We also want to have good control on the descent. There's a lot to work with the pull-up with the eccentric and concentric part of it. Just coming down slow with control is going to help increase your pull-ups over time as well. The more control, the better. Remember what I said, team. Strength is about full control from start to end. We want to see that control throughout the entire lift. Some great variations are going to a chin-up. Chin-ups are a little bit easier. You allow you to lose a little bit more muscle mass. You get your biceps a little bit more engaged. You can have your hands a little bit closer together, but we still want to engage the same things. We're forcing those shoulders back and down. We're leading with that chest, and we're literally trying to rip the bar down to our chest. That's how you think of the pull-up. Rather than pull yourself up, you're trying to pull the bar down to your chest. Another great way to start with some good variations is that scapular depression, right? That hang. So we're going to try to force those shoulders back and down, kind of pop the chest out a little bit. We're engaging that core and then release. Even holds from there are very useful as well. Just getting members used to that bar and very comfortable with that bar. Using the bands is absolutely fantastic. It is great to help your members out getting in and out of the band, help them find a little bit of autonomy as well, know what band they're using, know what band they need to start with, show them how to pull it down, put one foot in, grab the bar, and get themselves set up. It's just going to make that class and their experience a little bit better. And also, anybody who's afraid of the bar, who's afraid to do pull-ups, who's never done them before, help them up there and help them try to do a dead hang for a little bit. Give them a little bit of a time. Hey, last 10 seconds of this, just going to dead hang for 10 seconds. I'm staying right here. I'm not going anywhere. Just going to hold on, full grip, tight as you can for 10 seconds. Don't worry about engaging your shoulders. Just going to hang on. Box is right underneath your feet. I'm not going anywhere. They're going to love you for that. And they're going to build up that courage and that confidence for them to go for that big lift, get that good pull-up in. So once again, team, one of the things we definitely want to avoid is that big swinging, right? Legs are in the bands. I have 3 bands on. I got the black, I got the blue, I got the red. Somebody snuck a purple in there. My core's not engaged. My legs are swinging left and right. I'm doing like almost butterfly kicks on the pull-up bar, right? Let's get rid of some of the bands. Let's stabilize that core. Let's watch that swinging. half reps as well. You half reps on the bottom or for the top. If we're not getting that full range of motion, let's help them find a way to get that full range of motion by either adding some of those bands or doing something maybe like a lat pull down to get that engagement as well. So just show them what that full range of motion feels like and how their lats can get stronger. The overusing of bands is this where you're going to see that bouncing, that zero control from the top to the bottom. Remember, you want them to control that descent. So even if they have a lot of bands on and they need those bands and they can perform the pull-up properly on the way up with those bands, and we're seeing that bounce at the bottom, remember to tell them to slow it down on the way down. Maybe you're doing that 1 second pull-up and you're taking 3 seconds on the way back down, keeping the core engaged in that moving plank position to get all the stimulus out of the lift. With these techniques for these lifts, you're going to have different ways you're going to approach them with each member. I was thinking about Ian and his coaching avatar, and I was thinking about member avatars and how many of them there actually are, because there's so many different types of people who come into our studio. But a lot of them will fall into these ranges right here. Our beginners have very limited awareness of their body, and you need to be like a teacher to them. You could be a little bit more educational with them. They need to know the why, the how, the technique. Encourage them to go with body weight to really master their form. Once they've mastered their form, they're going to feel very confident picking up a weight that's going to challenge them. And they're going to really and get the most out of that lift and enjoy it. So telling them to start slow, start light. Everybody has their beginning point, and that's totally fine. Be that teacher, be that educator you are. Our intermediate lifters, these people have a little bit more skill, but they need to be coached. You don't have to push weight on them, but you do want to push that solid technique, those consistent reps time over time, right? I'm being super strict about that with them because they're going to start to feel a little bit confident as they add weight, but may forget the basics. And the basics are the things that you want to keep drilling to them over and over again. Just like when you first started 3 weeks ago, Susie, when we had just our hands and we're doing body weight squats, we're doing the same thing. You just have a kettlebell in your hand, still pushing your butt back, your chest is up loud and proud, still pushing through the middle of your feet. Our advanced lifters, our advanced F45ers, you need to be a good teammate with them as well, right? Help them with some weight selection, especially when it comes to our peak lifts and our peak days, depending on how fast they're performing the lift, how well they recovered afterwards. And we can always challenge these people with our pauses, our tempo, our pulses, things like that, things that just keep them engaged and things to keep them building time over time every time they come into our class. Our elite athletes have full body awareness. These are like our hybrid rock stars who are coming in, they're crushing high rocks events over the weekends, they're doing Spartan races. They're like superheroes in the studio and they're great. These people still need coaching and they still love coaching. They're there for you to encourage them, that you have a bond with them. You need to be very meticulous with the details with them as well. If they're going to go for that PR lift, that big lift on our resistance day on a Thursday, and they want to really push themselves, you got to go over those main important foundations with them, those basics, and then encourage them through that lift. Be their biggest supporter, be their biggest supervisor. Tell them now you need to take a good minute or two here before you get into our next one. Tell them how to progress, how they regress, and how they can do things to help get themselves to the next level. Those really fine, small details, those intricate things that's going to make their lifts even better and more proficient every time they come to the studio, and they're going to love you for it. So don't be afraid to get out there, coach up these people, changing up your coaching avatar to these studio avatars, and get into the nitty gritty as you push them through their big fours. We're going to get into this a little bit more over the next few weeks for sure, but I'm here for any comments, questions, or concerns you guys have. Keep lifting heavy, team.